This is how I built a £1 million chocolate empire. So the story starts for us where my wife had pregnancy diabetes with our first child, Hannah, and we started cutting our carbs. From there, we started to get our cake recipes developed so we could enjoy a piece of cake at home. We then, when we were in this flat, started selling it online, and that's when things really took off. People were seeing us on Instagram and asking us, could they buy some of our cakes? And of course, we're happy to oblige. For 2 years, all the way from 2018, 2019, we made absolutely no money whatsoever. And I was doing this as a bit of a side hustle, baking at night, doing the night feeds with my son, and then handing him over to Best with my wife in the morning, and then I'd go to school and teach all day. It's a bit insane, really. But I would spend all night baking cakes just to fulfill a few orders we had. And then in the lockdown, everything changed. In a month, we'd usually get about £2,000 in sales, which is pretty much nothing. I paid for the ingredients, certainly didn't pay me anything. And then in the lockdown in that March of 2020, we had one day where we hit £2,000 in one day. And I was like, this is a bit different, things have changed. And so this small flat we were in at the time just became way too small. Also, cast your mind back to that time, it was a bit of an interesting summer, right? It was really warm, you weren't allowed outside much. Well, imagine trying to be inside the flat and baking. And we had one of the hottest days in the whole country, and it was actually here where the record was set, and I was baking cakes that day, absolutely dying of the heat. We had to go somewhere else, we had to expand. I thought it was going to be a temporary measure, but then we went to our next place, so I'll take you to now. So when I was in the flat here, and also when I was at the cafe, the next location, we used to take the sacks of orders to the local post office in Coton. And the lady who worked there, who will remain nameless, was the most miserable woman you've ever met. And I remember I used to go in there with these big sacks and she'd say to me, how much have you got? This is ridiculous. I can't put it all through. I haven't got time. She had to scan every single item. And then we got to the stage where we then got big enough to have Royal Mail come to us and do a collection. So I came in one day and I said to her, good news, you're not going to see me anymore. I don't have to bring my parcels in here, you'll be a lot more free. And she told me off and she said, if people like you don't come in, we're going to go out of business. I mean, you can't win, can you? Some people. Oh, let's go. We moved here. This is the cafe that I moved my business to from my flat. Let's go inside. Mohac Cafe, as it's called now, wasn't at the time, and this was the base of Deliciously Guilt Free. This little cafe was the place where I realised I had a viable business. Up to this point, I'd been at home, I'd been doing everything from my kitchen table, and now I had a bit of space to expand into. So a bit of story. So we took on our first employee who lived in this village in Haslingfield. She was doing our social media, and she then said, well, actually the cafe around the corner from her is closed down. Why don't you come in, take over the place for the pandemic during the lockdown, and use it, and then pay their rent. They'll be happy, and for the business that was here. And we've got some space, so that's what we did. And we used to come here and bake the cakes in the kitchen around the back, because we were a cake baking business at the time. And then these tables here would have all the boxes on, all the orders. We'd then fill up the sacks with all the orders. I'd put them in the car, drive them to the post office at Coton around the corner, drop them off. And we were here from, let's see, it must be April, May, and June of 2020, so 3 months. But the thing that was really interesting in that 3 months was that while we were here, we got too big to go back home. I don't think I was really thinking it through, and I thought, well, as we're busy with the pandemic orders, let's go to a bit of space. Really nervous, like spending my own money from the business, which to that point wasn't paying me still. But I thought, let's just go for it. Let's invest in this. Let's take over the cafe and just make this work. By the end of the 3 months, I couldn't go back to the flat. That meant I was far too busy here to go back there. So that's why I had to find somewhere else. And that's why I'm going to take you to the next location, which is a soft play about 6 or 7 miles from here. The next place I moved to was here. This is the play barn just outside a village called Fulbourn. This is on the east side of Cambridge. Look at this landscape over here. This is amazing. Working here was fantastic because each and every day you're looking out over these fields. You've got the Gog Magog Hills up there. It's a kind of dream place to be. Now that's how I felt as an adult, but let me take you inside and you'll then understand how my 2- and 5-year-old kids at the time absolutely adored this place more than I did. Let's go inside. Come in this way. And this brings back memories. I just came in here like 5 minutes before to chat to Mel, who was a fantastic landlady to be here with. And this is the play barn. So this is where the business was based. Now at the time I was doing cakes, of course. So the cake part was done in that kitchen over there. And then these tables was where I'd have all the orders laid out ready to go. But this part around the corner, my kids loved the most. This is the soft play. We used to have them coming over here with some of the kids of some of the other people who used to work for me at the time, and they'd just be playing in here all the time, especially in that holiday in August 2020, when they're all off from nursery and school, whatever, they'd be here playing in the soft play. And it was just a great place to be. I didn't really see this side of it as much. I was stuck in here all the time. So this little kitchen, we actually had the ovens here. I had 2 ovens that I bought, and we had them on over here on a table. And I'll be basically making the mixers, baking the low carb cakes. And this is a weird time because, I mean, I'd only just been at home until that April. So from April, I'd been in the cafe. Next, I'm now in this place for 2 months. And it was just kind of most of my time I spent in this little room cooking, baking. And if you remember this time of the pandemic, this was basically most people were just about coming out of lockdown. So people were going out and about. And so every single day I'd have people coming through that door saying to me, could they come in and use the play bar? And I was like, no, sorry, we're still shut. But this was a great location because it was shut. You couldn't have soft plays open at that time still, but it was great for our usage. Yeah, it's just great being back here. Lots of memories. This is our current site just outside of Cambridge. We've been here now for 6 years. It's where the magic happens, where you watch probably most of my videos. This is where we grind the cacao, we temper the chocolate, pack them into wrappers and send out your orders too. Let me show you inside. This is where the chaos happens. Welcome to DGF. The order's about to be picked up by the post any second, so he'll be here to take those. To my left is where we grind the cacao, and so we've got a collection of machines like this one spinning around, grinding salted caramel in that case. It's all done in here, and then it's taken to the main kitchen. The staff have just left, it's just been cleaned down. This is where we measure the ingredients, we make sure we've got everything we need for our recipes. Over here is where we do things like toasting the milk powders for our salted caramel, and at the back over there is where we do all the tempering. A really important part of the process. It means effectively you can get the bar to the right crystalline structure so it gives you that snap when you open it up. Here's where you pack your orders by hand, and all these bars would go out by Royal Mail when Marshall comes to collect at 4 o'clock every day. Behind us is the fridge. This is where we put all the molds, so when they're filled with chocolate, they can then temper and set perfectly. But we have a big problem. We're outgrowing this unit. We've got so many orders coming in, we just cannot meet demand. Some machines I'm looking at now are actually 4 or 5 meters big, and for that reason, they just won't fit in here. But even if we could, with the number of staff we now need to expand to, we can't get the work done in such a small space. And that's why we're looking for a new home. But it's not the end of the story. In fact, it's just the end of the beginning. We've got a big future ahead of us with lots of plans, so like and subscribe to follow our next steps.